Hey everyone, welcome to episode 3 of Chord Expansion. This week we're going to be doing a continuation of the first two episodes where we're focusing on chord voicings on the top 4 strings, going from the D string to the E string. Episode 1 and 2 we covered minor 7 and dominant 7 voicings, and this week we're going to do major 7, which will set us up for episode 4, where we're going to take all of these ideas and translate them over to 2-5-1 progressions on the top 4 strings. So for today, we're going to be focusing on G major 7. Hope you enjoy. Okay, so we have to go over a little bit of theory stuff before we get into the voicings. So some of you might think to yourself, okay, a major 7 chord, the most obvious scale of choice would be a major scale. But that's not typically the case in jazz. Typically, people like to use the Lydian mode more so than the major scale. Lydian mode is a major scale with a sharp 4. And the reason why that is because raising the natural 4 up to the sharp 4 eliminates a lot of the tension that we get from having a natural 4. And I'll explain why that is. So basically, think of it like this. Think of G major 7 chord, right? Just regular textbook G major 7. We have the third on top. So watch, if we raise just that third up a half step to the 4, notice it's really dissonant, right? It has that, it wants to go back down. You want to hear, right? Right, it doesn't sound like it wants to hang there, like you couldn't end a song on a chord like that. But if you take the 4 and raise it to a sharp 4, all of a sudden you get this kind of mysterious, really cool sounding voicing that you can hang on, right? It has a completely different kind of sound. And the reason why the sharp 4 doesn't have that pull downward where it wants to resolve like the natural 4 does is because the sharp 4 is a whole step above a chord tone. So chord tone meaning 1, 3, or 5. In this case, the 3 is the chord tone, right? So when you have a note that's a whole step above a chord tone, it doesn't have that pull where it wants to go down, but the natural 4 is a half step above the third, so you want to, right here it wants to go down. Same thing with minor, how in jazz you typically use Dorian as opposed to natural minor. Think of a G natural minor scale. Right, that flat 6, same thing, right? It's a half step above the 5, so it wants to go down, right? But then you go to the natural 6 to make it Dorian. All of a sudden, you can hang on it, right? So there's parallels between Dorian and Lydian in the sense of how they are utilized in a jazz context over minor and major chords. So we want to be able to play our G Lydian mode all the way up the first string. So G, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, and then interval-wise, we have 1, 2, 3, sharp 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we're going to start out building some voicings with the G note on the bottom, with the root. So some of the most common ones that people might use, you can do this, which is a 6-9 voicing, so it's E, A, D, G. Okay, another one you can do, some people don't like this one as much because it has a minor 9 in it, but you can do this, which is F sharp, B, D, G. Some people can't stomach that minor 9 interval between the F sharp and the G, right? Which a minor 9 is an octave, but an additional half step as well. So think like F sharp to F sharp and raise it a half step. Some people don't like that sound, but it's kind of grown on me over time. I don't mind it as much as I used to. So we can do this, we can do this. Now here's a really cool intervallic one that I really like. It's a little tricky, but you can go like this. So what that is, it's a G major 9. You have the major 7, the root, the 5, and then the 9 is actually on the bottom. But I really like that one, especially if you have a bass player playing the G note on the bottom. So that's a nice intervallic one that you can do. So right there we have 3 voicings with G on the top. All right, now let's go to A. So for A, the most textbook one that people typically use is this. Right, 7, 3, 5, 9 intervallically. So now take this voicing and just look at some notes that you might be able to move around just within the Lydian scale. So one easy example would be we could take the D and just move it down a half step to C sharp. Now all of a sudden we get this, right? Big difference in the sound if you hear it against G. Right? But then if we go like this, right? Much more mysterious, right? Really cool sound. And then another one I really like is this. So that is, you could think, it's the same as a B minor 7, right? But I'm thinking of it against G to get the G major 9 sound. So 3, 5, 7, 9. So we have 3 voicings with the root and 3 voicings with the 9 now. And then the 9. right, now we're going to do the third. The most common one would be the one that I was using to demonstrate the difference between the 4 and the sharp 4. Right, that's like a textbook G major 7. Now if we want to make that Lydian, we can just take the 5 and lower it a half step. Then we get this, right? G Lydian sound. Now another cool one, this one's a little bit less common. I like this sound a lot. A lot of these sound better when you have a bass note playing the G on the bottom. So this is like a G major 9, but it has the 9 on the bottom again, similar to this voicing that we did. So this one, 9, 7, root, third. Right, a little bit more open, a little bit more of a modern kind of sounding voicing, but definitely a cool one to experiment with. All right, so now, because we're doing Lydian, right, we're going to do the sharp 4 on top as opposed to the natural 4. So I really like this one. This is just that G major 7 that we were doing, but we raise it to the sharp 4. That's a really beautiful chord. A couple others would be like this. Some people do that. It's like a 6-9. Think of like a G6-9, but you leave out the G and get the sharp 11 on the first string. All right, another cool one. I like this. This one has a really kind of eerie sound because it has a tritone in it. So this one is like just a G major triad with a C sharp on top with your pinky. I really like the sound of that because that tritone really kind of makes that voicing pop for me. So I don't always like tritones in major voicings, but there are definitely some instances in Lydian where you can get some really cool sounds if you implement that tritone between the root and the sharp 11. So now we have 3 for the sharp 11. All right, now we want to do the 5th on top. So one of the most common ones that people might do is this. So that is 3, 7, 1, 5. All right, you can also do a 6-9, which is the same voicing we did down here, but up in the 9th position. So we have... Another one I like is this is like a G major 13. So that's 3, 6, 7, 5. Or you can call the 6 13 if you want. So now we have. Okay, now we want to do the 6 on top. So a couple you can do for this one. So 5, 7, 3, 6. You can also do this. Just looks like an E minor 7, right? But it's a G major 6 chord, right? 5, 1, 3, 6. And another cool one is this. Looks like a B minor 11, but we're thinking of it against G. So it's 3, 7, 9, 13. So another G major 13 we can call it. So we have. All right, and then the last one we have the major 7 on top. The most common one would be this. 5, 1, 3, 7. If you want, you can take the root and raise it to the 9, make it 5, 9, 3, 7. Or one of the most common Lydian ones would be this, right? 1, 3, sharp 11, 7. And then we're back to the root. Okay, so we have 3 voicings for each note. So that gives you 21 voicings right there. And like I said, there's an additional 20 more voicings that weren't included in this video, along with PDFs with tabs and notation, and you'll get access to all future lessons. I do 1 to 2 of these per month. So if you're interested, feel free to go over to the Patreon, check it out. And that's about it. So this sets us up to start doing 2 5-1s on the top 4 strings, which will be episode 4. So get comfortable with that, and then the great way to practice that is just see if you can just get like a G Lydian sort of vamp going and just experiment, just comping around these voicings. And then before you know it, you'll be, comping kind of freely around the scale all the way up and down the strings, which is pretty much as free as it's going to get for comping, right? If you can get to the point where you can just play in any key, any scale, all over the neck, playing against any interval that you want, that's pretty much as good as it's going to get. And it helps a lot with chord melodies too, because if you encounter a voicing that has a particular color tone on top, now you have a couple of different voicings that you can draw from to build your chord melodies off of. So that's the episode for this week. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something, and I will see you guys at the next episode. Take care.